Good morning, everybody. I see that we're missing Austin, unless that's him on the fire tablet.
No, the fire tablet is me, so that way I can see people trying to get in while I'm trying to get the live stream going.
Okay, thanks, Abby. And I believe I got a message from Superintendent Cobal that he couldn't be here. Okay, it is about that time. So welcome, everybody. It's 8:30 a.m. on November 2nd, and I'm calling the Financial Management Committee meeting to because of COVID-19. This meeting is being held by Zoom for the safety of everyone involved. Abby, do you need to show that message, or do I need to?
I'll throw it up again.
Okay, I saw it, but it was really small on my screen, so I didn't know if that was the official one or not. Okay, thank you so much. Does anybody have an addition or a change that you would like to make to the agenda this morning? Okay, then I'll take a motion if you're ready to approve it as it stands.
I'll make the motion, Madam Chairwoman.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Hill. We will now do a roll call vote. I'm not seeing Michael on the screen. Is Michael with us?
He's logging in right now.
Okay. Hey, Michael.
Yes.
We are getting ready to vote on the approval of the agenda. Can you do a roll call for us, sir?
Yeah. Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Austin James.
Yes.
Mayor Patty Woodby.
Yes.
Ginger Holdren.
Yes.
Roger Cobal.
He's not going to be here.
Okay. Tracy McAbee.
Yes.
And Travis Hill.
Here.
If you don't mind me asking, who was the one who made the motion and the one who seconded the agenda?
Johnson made the motion and Hill seconded. And Travis, just for the record, you probably need to state yes or no, sir.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we do have a quorum present, even with the absence of our road superintendent. So the agenda is approved with a vote of 6 ayes. So moving on to the minutes from the October 5th meeting. They were in your packet. I hope you've had a chance to look over them. Does anybody see corrections that need to be made on the minutes?
Madam Chairwoman, I make the motion that we accept the minutes as written since there's no statement made otherwise.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Commissioner Johnson, seconded by Dr. McAbee to approve the minutes from October meeting. So we will now vote on that. Mr. Kennedy, please.
Brad Johnson,
Yes.
Austin James,
Yes.
Mayor Woodby,
Yes.
Ginger Holdren,
Yes.
Tracy McAbee,
Yes.
Travis Hill.
Yes.
Okay, so the minutes from October are approved. Next on our agenda is public comments. And I don't see a member from the public, but we do have a couple of commissioners that are here this morning. I see our trustee also. I just now saw you, Mr. Lewis. Does any one of you have anything to say this morning at this time? Okay, your comments are certainly welcome as we get into our business. So we'll look at old business item number 1, which is to discuss the capital asset management policies and procedures. It's quite a lengthy document that we were sent last week. I did have time to read the entire thing and, may have a question or comment here and there. But first, I'm going to ask Director Burke if he wants to say anything about this before we begin our discussion.
Yes, I do. As you said, Ginger, this is a lengthy policy. I have started redoing this particular policy, and it will be trimmed down quite a bit. One of the reasons for the lengthy policy was these were originated when the county first began to recognize capital assets. It's back in the mid-90s, I believe, maybe around 2000. But anyway, that will allow for quite a bit of it to be removed. The startup requirements. I'm trying to make it as short as possible, but be as informative as it needs to be. And if anybody has any questions, any recommendations on anything they would like to see they don't understand, please let me know. And I will have those ready for you next month in December, the revised version. And one other item is included in this capital asset policy here and there is a mention of, excuse me, items that are considered non-capital assets, which as the policy current stands, anything above $25,000 in cost is considered capital asset. There also needs to be requirements to account for and maintain non-capital assets, such as computers, small equipment, vehicles that cost less than $25,000. And I think it'd probably be a good idea that we lower some of the thresholds for certain capital assets. $25,000 threshold is high for a county of this size, equipment and vehicles. I will be presenting revised thresholds for recognition of capital assets in the policy next month, as well as policies for non-capital assets.
Okay, thank you. So that kind of takes care of one of my first questions, because I saw that the 10,000 had been struck through and changed to 25,000. And so I was going to ask you about that, but you took care of that. So over on page 78, Director Burke, of course, it's just the third page of the document, but it's labeled 78 at the bottom, everybody. Number 9, about vehicles, where it says, if above threshold, you're going to set that amount or recommend an amount to us next month. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. And then I guess Director Burke, you'll probably catch this also, but on page 79, under the graph, or the table, I should say, it says a unit value less than 10,000. And I suppose if we're going to go with the number 25,000, that needs to be changed right there.
Yes.
Whatever number you go with.
Yes.
Director Burke, do we currently record these things in each department as we're supposed to? I'm looking now at page 81, item 3. And it's saying that these forms are supposed to be forwarded to the finance department before the last day of the month. I just wondered if that's currently happening.
No, and the version I'm looking at is the page numbers are a little different from what you're looking at. What was the section heading you're looking at?
I'm under acquisition of property, and then recording custody of each property item.
Okay, let me pull up the version that was sent out.
No problem.
You can tell me the page number again?
81, sir.
81, I'm sorry. That's not being done in all instances currently. The way it's working now, since we're maintaining capital asset records in Excel, we're updating at the end of the year for June 30th for the auditors. That's when we had to request some of those forms. But the edited or the updated policies I'll be presenting next month will address this, as well as some more procedures to ensure it's being done in a timely manner. And there's something coming up later on in the agenda that will help with this greatly, making sure this is done.
Okay.
Madam Chairwoman, Brad Johnson.
Yes, sir.
As a comment and suggestion, maybe even a recommendation, would it be more prudent for this topic here to be rescheduled for next month, to where we will have better guidelines and recommendations from our finance director, which would be just a little bit faster, but a little bit better understood by the remainder of the panel?
Yes. Yes, I believe that is what Director Burke said when he first started talking this morning, is that he's going to have all that stuff next month. So I just was going over some things in case any of us had recommendations for him as he's rewriting these.
Well, here's, and it may be isolated with just me or me only, but I don't believe so. As you know, personally, there are some of us that are heavily tasked by being illiterate with computers. And to be able to, I don't have the knowledge, and I know there's some others that don't, that have the knowledge or the capability to Zoom or to monitor the meeting, plus look at documents and everything on a computer at the same time. I have attempted it, and I've had to go buy a new computer because I blew that one up. It's been a feat. Of course, I can learn, there's no doubt about it, but we got to remember also that there are other commissioners and staff members that we still depend on hard copy. It may have been provided for this month in our agenda and all, but I was kind of negligent near the end of the week to, with my memory, to run over and pick my copy up. And it may be in my box, but we got to emphasize that too, to where it'll help us out to better understand and what's going on.
Right, and I agree. And Michael or Abby, does anybody want to address whether those were placed in our mailboxes or not this time?
So the only person who normally requests a hard copy, since we've moved to electronic and we were trying to get rid of the waste of paper, was Mr. Johnson, and he does have one in his box.
Okay, yeah, that's my bad. But two, you know, the way we operate, there has nothing ever been passed before our commission making the computer dominant over everything else. So it's not that we're just doing it for me, but all the rest of them, you know, if it's going to be for a committee, that all are treated the same until we get out of this Zoom period.
Yeah. So going forward under that, I apologize. I guess I had the wrong question. I'll start printing everybody a packet and putting it in their box. If you guys want, just tell me, because this one's a bit thicker, and I just didn't want to print this for everybody if everybody didn't want it. So.
Michael, you can leave me out. I'm okay with electronic.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. And I do understand. I'm trying to live in a complete technology world, but I still like paper sometimes. Like when I'm making notes about the questions I have on these documents, I'd like to have paper to do that on. So I completely understand this request. I did print several of these documents myself at home, but it is costly. Ink is one of the most expensive things I buy for my home office. So I do understand. And Michael, I understand your point also. That's a thick packet and we don't want to waste county money. So everybody just try to communicate well with Abby and Michael about things like this so that you have what you need, but we don't waste any money at the same time. Thank you so much. Does anybody else have a comment on that?
Well, I can say, Ms. Oldham, that I'm open to any assistance or help or somebody to tutor me in the meantime to where I can get out of this, out of the paper world, since I can handle electronic, but till that time, until I can keep up with everything, I appreciate the consideration of that.
Okay, sir. I have just two more questions on this for Mr. Burke before we move on. Mr. Burke, on the document that got sent out on page 82, the first item D at the top.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we did this according to county policy whenever we gave County Clerk Mary Googe permission to get rid of some items. So if this is going to continue to be part of our policy, we need to make that widely known, because she came to us through Building and Grounds and asked if she could get rid of some stuff. And then of course we took it to the full commission, but it didn't happen exactly like it stated in the policy.
I agree.
You need to Maybe smack us a little bit more, Director Burke. Okay, and then this is the last thing I promise everybody. On page 83, item 3, unrecorded property. Whenever we took over the workforce development building, did we get an inventory at that time?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so does anybody else have anything to say this month on the capital asset management? Okay, Director Burke, thank you for your work on this, and we'll continue next month.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll go to old business item 2, which is discussion of the compensation time policy. And I'm just going to say that last month we discussed this again, and we had no motion from the group. So I don't want to waste any time on that this morning. If you have some input on it, let's hear it. If not, I'm going to say let's move on from this as well.
But don't you think would be the consensus of the committee that it needs to be an improvement on? I mean, we have just a single line item just saying, you know, that anything over 40 hours, of course, is considered comp time. But the whole emphasis of the reason it came up was that it had begun that new line items were established on all departmental budget requests for additional funds to cover overtime when we had the policy that I think had the 100 hours as maximum before it went into a payoff. It was not well described or the procedure to get to that point where it should be, I think, in the policy to where if there is overtime that is granted, it's only in the 1 and 2 hours overtime, and it's not constant. It may be once in a quarter, it may be once semi-annually, that time be allowed for the employee to take off by the employer or their department head, saving the county money itself for the payment of it for time and kind. And that way it will free up some funds on when it comes budget time and the overall budget itself.
Right. I agree with you. Yes, go ahead.
We do have an employee in the mayor's office that I have addressed comp time with. He's currently going to begin working on that. He will begin to take 2 days a week off. I have addressed that with him. He will probably do that for the next 2 months. The comp time has gotten a little higher. Again, I think there was a payout back in April for this comp time, and we're back way above the threshold of the 100 hours. I've had that discussion with him. He's okay with doing 2 days a week to get that comp time way down under the threshold of the 100 hours. That will probably take him a couple of months to get it. Well, I'd like to see it further than the 100 hours. Actually, I'd like to see it down to the 50. So we are currently working on that just to keep the county from paying any extra funds.
We appreciate that, Mayor Woodby. When I really read the comp time policy this weekend in preparation for today, it's written pretty well. I think the main problem is we're just not following it because it states that employees are encouraged to use it. The county will make every effort to grant the comp time. And it says that any employee who has reached the maximum shall not work. And from the Bible, I know what those shall nots mean. If we were following this, we would not have a problem. An employee shall not work until that comp time has fallen below the maximum allowed, unless there's written authorization. It says the county reserves the right to require employees to use their accrued comp time. So I think the policy has some teeth in it. We're just not biting down with those teeth. And I don't know where that's to come from. I spoke with Attorney Harden this morning, and ask if there's anything we can do. And he says, other than budget, not really. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, it looks like that all of it rests on the department head, whether it be elected or whether it be under a directorship. And it has to be of great emphasis. I don't know if it can be enforced, but it is an item where it can be handled budget, and they've got to understand that is a control and a financial item that can get expensive, and it can't be forecast. You can go on an average of the past, but you don't know what the future is going to hold. And it's a management tool also in like kind. I think they should, if from our finance department to the department heads, if they readily identify that there is a violation of that, is to stop it, and if nothing else, bring it to the financial management committee for resolve on it, because it means that somebody's not adhering to what is approved by the full commission on this operation statement.
Okay. Bert, do we need to buy you a whip?
Already got one.
Just don't write the check. We're not taking their comp time from them. They earn it. It's just how that they're going to receive the benefit from it.
Right. So, Dr. Burke, if you will, just keep us abreast of those matters at all times when you're in this meeting, when you're in the budget meetings. If there's a department that's continually having problems with that, we need to try to address it and get them to adhere to it, because the whole intent is to save the county money. And I did just want to point out, I don't believe there's anything we can do about this. From what I've read, all we can do with the department heads that choose to have their own policy is review them. But on the sheriff's policy, it looked to me like it's almost an encouragement to them to go above the 171 hours, because once they hit that mark, they start getting time and a half on their comp time. So anytime you're going to give me more, I'm going to try to get to that point where I'm getting the more. So that was a little concerning to me, but I don't believe that there's any authority here to do anything about that.
Well, when the sheriff's department first, when it was written, their policy by the department in itself, all of that was presented to not only the budget committee, but to the finance committee also before it was implemented in that department. Because I was employed at that time there, and it was new because they had went into a new 10-hour session rather than 12-hour duty sessions rather than just a normal 8. And it was new also to them, so it was pretty thoroughly researched and presented. It may not hurt to review them again, or to have a representative or the sheriff himself to make a presentation of the board on that policy and see if there's any updates that be recommended on it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I liked that they have in their policy that they want people to try to use their comp time within a 28-day period. I really liked that. So there's some good things in it, but I will reach out to the sheriff's department and ask if they would consider looking at that and maybe bringing it to us next month or in 2 months at least. Okay, last call. Anything else on comp time policy at this time? All right. Old business number 3 is a discussion about where we stand with Evergreen and the wage and compensation study. Anybody from the finance department want to give us an update if you've had another conversation with them?
So I did contact them this past month and asked them exactly where we stand. And their goal, obviously, since the initial data was given to them at the beginning of the study, which was last year, the data is completely outdated. And they're wanting us to resend that, which is a lot of work. So I spoke with Mr. Burke Friday, and he said the best thing to do would be wait until we can actually meet back in person, because I don't want to do it a third time if it takes too long and we have to redo it. So I'm going to keep in contact with Mrs. Berkeley at the comp study and see where their policies stand as far as meeting in person. Obviously, we're not going to meet in person, I don't think, until at least January, but we can at least keep contact going back and forth. That's all I see right now that we can do.
Committee, any thoughts?
We may need to make contact with our county attorney to relook at their contract again because of the overlapping in the fiscal year, and then in the contract too because of the COVID-19. They may be that we are liable ourselves by not executing it, but it's caused by the pandemic itself. So for if there is additional funds while we have this grant, which we may be able to access the cover of the addition on that for the extension of the contract, because it is caused by the pandemic and the operation of our government.
Good catch, Commissioner Johnson. I will reach out to the attorney and have him look at that for us. And I'll just say, Michael, I agree with you that there's no need for you and your department to present those numbers to them again, because the way it looks right now, I really wouldn't even anticipate that we can meet in person in January, because we'll be in flu season until at least March. So I don't think it's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. Does anybody object?
Sounds good to me.
It's good to hear your voice there, Mr. Hill. Okay, so we'll go on into new business. Recent bids is item 1.
All right. So as you guys will notice, when you look at the recent bid sheet that was sent out with the initial packet, we're going to start with Sheriff's Department mental health transport. And there is no bids for that. When we bid it out, we expected at least one person to come in, but no one actually bid. So that will be sent back out possibly this month or next month. The other bid that we put out this month was the Carter County Schools proxy card entry system. That was actually open Friday, but this packet was sent out before we opened it. So that's the reason why it says out for bid. I don't think there has been any decision made on the winner yet. But as soon as there is, that will be updated and put in here for next month. So, and that should be it.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, new business item number 2. Sequoia Group, finally. Sequoia Group, you have the floor. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having us.
Can you hear us?
Can you guys hear us pretty good?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to see if I can get my screen shared.
So whoever's hosting it has to give you permission.
Yeah, I think Abby is hosting, so Abby will have to give you permission to share your screen.
While you are thinking about it, just why is everybody so sad looking in Knoxville this morning? Oh, that's it. That is just a buzzard. Okay.
Colton, I've made you a co-host, so you should be able to share now.
Okay, thank you. We didn't take a loss this weekend, so we shouldn't be too upset. So yeah, we met with Michael and Brad, was it about a week and a half ago, and we ran through our post-renewal. I know time is of the essence here, so we'll keep it short. And then once we get to the end, if you guys have any questions, please ask. So we'll just dive right in. All right, so the 2020 renewal process, the medical through Blue Cross, when we initially sent it out, they came in at about a 16% increase, and that translated to about $369,000 annual that would have been accounted for. With the use of the dashboard that we have, we were able to negotiate that rate down to a flat 0, so no increase there. And then in talking with Michael throughout the year, there were some employees that had some hearing issues, and there wasn't any coverage that was inside the medical through Blue Cross. So once Michael brought that up, we were able to speak with Blue Cross and get that added in at no additional cost there. Moving on to dental, still through Delta, they initially came in at 16.1% increase, a little bit of over 11,000 annually. We did market the dental, and we sent it out to 4 additional carriers. The lowest quote we got back was 6.4%. Delta agreed to match that, so that increase there only went up approximately 4,000 annually. On the vision, there's a rate hold on that, so there was no increase. And then there's still a rate hold on the life and disability carrier through One America. And then the critical illness with cancer, both the policies through Allstate, those are issue age as well as the trust mark. So no increase on those as well. You guys know we got current benefits. This was sent, I believe Michael included this as a packet to everybody. I don't want to spend any time on the current benefits, so we can get through this pretty quickly. Post-renewal summary. Prior to enrollment, the total premium was about $1.64 million. Post-enrollment, it was at 1.5. The county spend did go down by 23,000. Total enrollment did increase by 3. And then the HSA contribution itself, net change of about 47,000, and the enrollment increased by 1.2%. Moving on to dental, again with that 6.4% increase, the county portion went up about 4,000 on the spend there. We also added 2 new employees on there from an enrollment standpoint. Vision, county portion went down just a tiny bit, but that's due to the enrollment there. You see total enrollment in June was at 182, and then post-enrollment was at 181. All right, so the financial dashboard. Before we kind of dive into this, I want to set expectations, the same thing I did with Michael and Brad. Once we get in here, you're going to see that the projection is up there, it's pretty high. And that's because September, there were, I believe it was about 180,000 in new high claims that hit. We know where most of those came from. But something that was kind of a discussion last year, and we'll lead in again this year, is not taking the medical to market last year because we were able to get that 0% rate hold. Knowing that we have some large claims and some that are going to continue, we're going to take, this to market this year. So I just want to set expectations that, since we didn't market it last year, we're going to have a much stronger, I guess, representation of being able to get our renewal down based off of this dashboard and what we can see, especially because with what we know is going on with Blue Cross. If we take it to Cigna or UHC, Humana, one of those carriers, we should be able to negotiate down to get a much better renewal percentage. So moving on, anyway, the MLR September track, that's MLR is medical loss ratio, and it tracked at 237%, which was caused by the highest medical claims in the last 12 months and the third highest in the last 3 years. 3 new large claims hit this month, causing a spike in the year-to-date MLR to 158. We'll go on. Real quick through here, during the last 12 months, total enrollment had increased on an average from 223 to 241, and that's a jump up 8.2%. Estimated employee contributions for the last 12 months, around 99,000, which is 6.1% of premium. The medical to RX plan is running at a paid loss ratio of 100.6%. So that's claims divided by premium. In the last 12 months, there were 16 individuals with a total claims exceeding 25K, which represents 53.3% of total claims, and 2 of those have turned. I expect whenever the October figures drop, there's going to be some more turns, and I would expect those claims in excess to increase as well. So currently we're sitting at a renewal projection estimated to be around 42.8%. So extremely high. But again, just to go back to the previous sentiment there was we have, that kind of that feather in our back pocket on this to be able to help drive rates in the event that we do take it to market. One of the things that I pointed out in meeting with Brad and Michael was on the PEPM claims by category on the top right. You can see where the medical for current just jumped. It skyrocketed based off trend from 18 to 19 and 19 to 20. So that went up pretty substantial, but we know where that came from. Real quick on this graph here, that purple line is where the premium PEPM is where you want to be under that.
Be under the green.
Yeah. The target claims cost PEPM, that's typically the MLR, you want it to run at 80%. So that green line represents the 80%. So you want to stay at or below the green line. And you can see starting in June, it starts to kind of creep up, and it's just gone up ever since. So again, that's another reason why we're looking at this really closely and wanting to make sure that we got our thumb on the pulse to make sure we're taking care of it. Real quick, here, just showing you the rolling 12. So if you look at 9/1 of 20 and you go over to the loss ratio, that's really the more important piece of this is looking at that loss ratio. And you can see the last 4 months have been above 100. That makes it extremely tough whenever it does come time for renewal. So the current period year to date under that loss ratio is at 158%. And then if you look at the second to last line where it says year to date versus prior period year to date, and you go over to that loss ratio, it's up by 120%. So we know we got some work to do, and I just want to make sure that you guys know we're paying attention to it and we're monitoring and watching closely. Let's go through there. That's previous data, and then through here it shows of the 3 different plans that we've got. It shows total enrollment, medical claims, drug claims, and then premium based off of which plan they're actually enrolled in. And then here it just gives a breakdown, easy visual on the large claims in excess of 25K. Shows you the different bands that it's in, and then how much that represents as far as payments and percentage of claims. And then right in here is the top 10 drugs by brand and generic. That gives us, along with being able to monitor what those excessive claims are, the drugs also help us understand from an ongoing perspective what it is that we're taking from a maintenance view. So that helps us paint a better picture to what could be on the horizon and what we should be expecting to drive those rates. And then here, that's the medical renewal projection. As you can see down there at the bottom, it's at 42.8%. And then moving on into the wellness discussion. So of the 273 total members that we have on the plan, that includes 235 employees, 16 spouses, and 22 children. Of that total 273, 123 members receive their preventative exam, so 44.9% of the population. That was up just a little bit from last year. And then as you see, 110 of those employees, 11 spouses and 2 children, make up that 123.
I just want to jump in on this side real quick and point out that on the chart below where it says percentage of total members, that is actually the percentage not of the total members in the group, but the percentage of total members that are eligible for that screening that are inside the group. So for example, mammogram for women over age 40, 39 members, which represent 50% of the women that are in that category. So it's not, that percentage there is not total members, but members that are eligible for that screening. Go ahead.
That's good. All right. And other services, Medicare, education for employees and families, that is something we'll discuss on the next slide as well. The benefits administration system, we also include all the benefit guides, required annual notices, provide a cafeteria plan documentation and support, complete the ACA reporting, and 1095C. We do process all ongoing new hires and terminations with all the insurance carriers. Got a pretty good relationship with Michael and his team over there, Jacqueline. Provide education and support directly to employees, 24/7 employee concierge advocacy assistance. We do audit the invoices and perform reconciliations, and then additional HR support and resources, HIPAA, FMLA, Section 125, and other areas. So here is kind of a time as far as what we're planning on. I know this has changed since speaking with Michael last week with all the COVID restrictions going back into place. So this is kind of, it's going to be changing as we go, but I'll be happy to update as we know what's going on. So in talking with Michael and Brad last week, Michael had asked for a cost analysis as far as providing different wellness strategies. So that's something that we're working with Blue Cross on to get that going. Medicare education, we did send out an introductory flyer through Ernie, who is our Medicare education specialist. He's our specialist here on staff. And then, you know, we're trying to get the educational sessions in person. I don't know if, kind of speaking to Brad Johnson's point with, you know, having issues on the computer. I know that that's a problem with many folks, and I don't know how we can, if Zoom is maybe the best alternative, but I definitely think that it's important that we start pushing Medicare and the education part of it to the employees so they know where to turn as they approach that age there. And then talking with Michael and Brad as well, putting together a survey, because I know, speaking with him and his Patty as well, as there's you know, the employees understand their benefits, but there's more to it and they want to know more. So I want to put together a survey and send it out to them and ask what it is that they're curious about, what they want to know more about, and then start having, you know, educational sessions once a month maybe to address those topics so we can get everybody, you know, on the same page and understanding the benefits that they're paying for and how they can help them. FMLA and HIPAA training with the department heads. I know Jacqueline's heading that up along with Kelly to get that done. Again, all the target dates are probably going to be moving around with COVID and then flu, as Ginger had spoke about too. Voluntary benefits, EAP, the short-term disability and long-term disability, understanding how it works. I did speak to our rep at One America about possibly coming up and helping with training on that. I thought that might be a good idea to have, you know, somebody from the carrier up there to speak with the employees, get a face and all that. So another item that was discussed was the Blue Cross Blue Shield app, just the general setup and overview of how it works so employees can view their EOBs or just anything that they need at any time. And then the carrier education, that goes back to what we're looking at as far as what we're seeing on the dashboard. I think it would be a great idea to go ahead and start talking to the employees about, you know, other carriers, how they work, their pros and cons, that kind of thing, in case we do have to make that switch. Try and be as, you know, out as far ahead of it as we can, so there's no issues on the back end. So we got any questions as far as that goes?
I do. Well, it's not a question. I just wanted to say I would like for us to think of a plan as far as how to incentivize our employees to getting their well checks, as far as the mammograms, the, you know, just your physicals. I don't think we're seeing a high enough percentage of employees actually partaking in that. And I don't know what the incentive would be, but I think employees would act more upon that if there was some form of incentive.
So, Patty, one of the things that's on our list, it was one of the things Brad Burke asked at the last meeting, was if we could kind of run a cost analysis and some different wellness programs, kind of put those together for the committee to review. So we're going to be working on some of those things for you guys.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Any other questions?
I'm just curious if you can tell us how Carter County is comparing with other counties on the COVID claims.
We haven't looked at that, but it's something we could look at and try to get some data for you and send it back your way. As far as actually looking at data, I haven't heard a whole lot from up there, Ginger, as far as, you know, employees being out. I know we've had a whole lot in Middle Tennessee. They had to close several highway departments and different things like that. County governments did, but towards the east, it seems to be a little more quiet than it is from Middle Tennessee, for sure. But as far as data, we could try to pull some and send that your way.
Okay, remind me, because I feel like I heard you all address this sometime in the past year. Whenever we have those claimants that get into the really expensive numbers, do you all pull them from the group somehow to try to get our renewal rate down for next year?
Yes, so we watch what is called as a pooling level. So we watch the claimants as they're tracking, and as soon as they go above the pooling point, we remove those claims out of our projections. So, and that's what Colton was kind of, you know, that whip that Brad Burke said that he had. He told us to keep it short. So we were scared of that whip. No, anyways, we do pull them out, and this is here, URL's pulling level, which is your stop loss with Blue Cross that goes to the reinsurance carrier, is set at 100,000. So whenever any individual claimant hits that number and starts trending over that, we start backing their claims out.
Along with, this is Tim, along with, if an employee that is on that list as a high claimant, if they've termed out, then we actually, when we go to market, we pull that termed claimant out of those high claimant numbers there. So really the only thing that the high claimant is impacting is the current carrier, i.e. Blue Cross Blue Shield. So when we go out to market to Cigna, Aetna, UHC, Humana, or anybody else, those numbers really won't impact us with the other carrier.
And then in turn, Blue Cross Blue Shield is not going to want to lose the group because then they will take a loss. So it's just, and the 48% increase or 42%, that's going to more than likely trend down as we move throughout the year because the effective trend actually will go down as it gets closer to the renewal date.
If we look real quick, and then I'll be quiet, if you look at June of 2020, July, August, and September, and you look at the medical loss ratio of those 4 months versus the other months previous, you know, we're 123, 100, 137, and 237%. So if we step back for a minute and we think of the employees that could have impacted those numbers, then that kind of tells us the story there. So we ask, you know, are those illnesses ongoing, those claims ongoing, or have they terminated? So as Kelly was saying, those should be looking better as we move forward. The only other thing that is the big asterisk in the room is if we get another COVID case that, you know, that or 2 or 3, that we have employees that go into intensive care and those type things, then those numbers could continue to run high, could continue to run hot. COVID is the big unknown in the room.
But the large claimants that are showing on the dashboard, the majority of those are not COVID. And we're aware of what all of them are and tracking them, and some of them have already been, will be removed. So.
Or what I guess what I could say there, another asterisk is that some of them were labeled COVID. True.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, will you tell me what it means when you say 2 of them were termed?
Meaning that the illness is not ongoing. Like if we have a heart surgery or we have a hip replacement, those are going to be one-time hits, okay? And then they kind of go away because the surgery took care of the issue, okay? I.e., like from a cancer standpoint, you know, as that claimant is going through radiation and chemo, those drugs are hitting us pretty hard. But after they get through chemo and radiation and they just go to maintenance, then that's not going to hit us. There's not going to be as much claims there going forward. The other thing when I say term is that the illness termed and or the employee termed off the plan.
Yeah. Like the employee may no longer be on the plan.
Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And Ginger, anytime you want to pick up the phone or anyone, just give us a call, or if we need to be in, we'll be as detailed and in depth with you as possible as long as it's per HIPAA guidelines.
One of the things that we were asked to do to prepare for marketing before it gets time is to do carrier education on the other carriers and go ahead and run disruption reports with physicians, facilities, medications, and those things, and provide that education to you guys, the commissioners, and so on and so forth. So before it gets to market time.
Madam Chair, Brad Johnson.
Yes, sir.
May I go direct to Director Burke, please?
Yes.
Director Burke, in looking through all these numbers in this presentation here, and during that 4-month period that was just identified, that we have, we have suffered more claims, but it sounds to me like that is maybe directed toward the cause of COVID to our employees of why it's going up. Now, with that in mind, does not that extra cost to the county government and all, doesn't that qualify within the grant, the COVID grant that was given us to be used? And I know it has a stop date, so if it is, how do we, go in and put our claim for that way for the financial support?
The way that I was understanding it was that COVID didn't have that much of an impact on the claims. Is that correct, Kelly and Tim?
Well, it doesn't, it's not on the high claimants, but what we could do is we could, it would have to be a special report that we can't pull ourselves, but we can request from Blue Cross Blue Shield to send us a report of the total cost due to COVID and get that, because I think that's a great idea that's just been brought up. But as far as the large claimants and the claims data that we're able to pull, we don't see, very much COVID at all. However, that would be a specialized report that would have to be ordered from Blue Cross.
Well, the other thing, Director Burke, that directs me to that is I don't know what the cutoff date on those grants are and what the present balance is, but I think I'm in mind the same as the rest of you. I don't want to send nothing back to the government, the federal government, if there's use here in our county that would help us on our budget, and that particularly would help our employees out at the total end when you go back and have to negotiate new insurance coverage.
All the original CARES Act funds have been requested, and I have a request that will be submitted today for additional funds in case any more become available. The funds are turned back in from any city or county, and that claim is in excess of $1 million. Of course, we may get something, we may get nothing.
Yeah.
We won't know for probably a month or two.
Okay, in that claim, in the background of it, not to prolong this, but I know we suffered some COVID in our correctional department, which that dominoes the shortage, which caused overtime, still is costing us money.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay.
That's what I'm using is payroll for that excess of $1 million.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No further, Madam Chairman.
Good ideas, Commissioner Johnson. Thank you for submitting that, Director Burke. Does anybody else have questions or comments for Sequoia?
The other thing that we were going to just talk about real quick, I know you guys were talking just a little bit ago about comp time and that sort of thing. So we can do total compensation statements. And I know that Brad and Michael have both been in discussion with this. I've been working with Jacqueline and payroll there to get this nailed down. So we could get these together for every single one of the employees there at Carter County and get them sent out. So really the main thing that I wanted to show on this was down here. These are completely customizable, and we can put any and everything that we need to in here, whatever it is that you guys want to address or just see in general. But a couple of the things that Jacqueline had sent over to me to put in here was the FICA and then Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, and TCRS. So I added that in here. If there's additional information that you guys want to see or want to be added, we can put every single bit of that in there, and then we can get those, approved and sent out to the employees.
It is kind of eye-opening, though, that an employee may think that their base pay, they make $47,000 a year, but then after all their benefits are added in, they really are making $63,000. Because Carter County does provide a lot of compensation through benefits.
And I think this is crucial for us from a recruiting, hiring, training, and retaining standpoint of what the Tri-Cities area up there needs to understand about the hidden little gem of Carter County over there in working there from a compensation standpoint, benefits, and everything that you all are doing for your all's employees. This is a tremendous statement here, and it is very, very eye-opening. Still, what we are doing, the county and everything, what you all are doing from a HSA contribution and your benefits there, nobody across the state is doing that. So we've got a great story to tell there, Ginger.
That's very nice to hear. Thank you for sharing that with us. And I guess Brad and Michael have shared with you that our committee did vote to ask you all to provide those for each employee. The only question was, what individual items were you going to include? And I am not well versed in this, so I have to defer to your company and to our finance department to put that together, or other committee members.
Okay.
Yes, I think at our last meeting, we actually kind of narrowed it down, and Jacqueline is working with providing us the data, so these should be going out pretty soon.
Chairman Holder.
Yes, Mr. Kester.
I was looking at this statement. I'm on this committee, but I'd like to add a little something. Where I presently work, we did the same thing for the employee. One thing that I did, a couple of things I did notice that wasn't included was paid sick leave, paid holidays, and vacation time. That cost was always added because it is a cost of an employee. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Excellent point. Can that be done?
It can be. It would be. We'll have to get with Jacqueline and Michael in their office about being able to pull that data. And but yes, like Colton mentioned, it's completely customizable. So as long as we can get the data from the county on those items for each person, then it can be added. Absolutely, and I think that's a great point.
There is another little page on there, miscellaneous benefits. So we could put, there's paid holidays there, sick days, vacation, all that stuff is in there. Just as soon as we get the data, we can go ahead and start putting everything in.
That's great. I think if you're going to go to the trouble of that for us, the more complete it can be, the better, because it tells the whole story.
Agree 100%.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sequoia Group. We again appreciate all that you're doing for our county, for your time here this morning, for the things that you're currently working on for us, for the good communication as we head into, bidding out our insurance for the next season. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
We'll let them sign off.
Y'all have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Smile, everyone. Choose for God.
But if we took a break, would that help the smiles?
Yeah.
Oh, that was a big one. It looks like if everybody's in agreement.
Okay, 10-minute break. We will reconvene at 9:50. 9:50. Thank you. Okay, let me know when you're ready to get started. It's time. Okay, I'll call us back to order at this time. We are on new business number 3. I'll turn it over to the finance department on this one because I know nothing.
All right, I think Brad is on his way back. In the meantime, I'll try to fill his spot on this topic. So this is what we call the fixed asset module on Skyward. So as you know, Skyward has the ability to build out many different options for us to make things more efficient in the finance department, make things easier to get completed. And this is one of the options. So currently, the way we account for fixed assets is through a very large Excel sheet. And that Excel sheet's done once a year. Therefore, there's a lot of room for error, either in formulas in the Excel sheet for depreciation of the assets or errors in just missing items. Well, this should be a fix to that, because this will be a module as the items are purchased. They will go straight into the fixed asset module to be depreciated as they're actually bought. So it will be definitely a help for us. And I think definitely a benefit to the county to make sure the records are 100% accurate and nothing is missed. Mr. Burke, do you have anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yep, like you said, it will enable the records to be current at any point in time. It does take a significant amount of time at the end of the year to prepare the capital asset records, to update them from the previous year. And the auditors often make audit adjustments to these records, and sometimes they can't tell us exactly the reason for the adjustments. And that's, to me, that's concerning. But our records do need to match what the auditors come up with, if it's correct, of course. But this will be a huge benefit, and I know the front cost will be almost $9,000, but the recurring cost each year will be $1,647. And
will you repeat the total cost again, or initial cost?
The total cost for the first year, which would be 2021, will be $10,581, and all that except $1,647 would be one-time cost, which means that going forward we would just be paying $1,647 to use the module.
That's $1,647 annually?
Yes.
Okay.
Chairwoman Holdren?
Yes, Commissioner Hill.
I make a motion that we send this to budget for consideration.
I have a motion to send to budget. Anybody want to second that motion?
Second. Mayor Woodby. I almost said Commissioner Woodby. Sorry. Job titles are getting confusing.
Oh, okay. So we have a motion and a second to send the purchase of Skyward. It's a fixed asset module on Skyward that the finance department would like to have to help with depreciation, especially. And we're voting on whether to send it to budget for consideration. Is there any discussion?
I have a question. Is all of our departments hooked up to this Skyward and operable for the total package? Or is just this additional added on just for the finance department?
It will the finance department will access and maintain this package. And in the policies and procedures, there will be provisions for that information to be provided and updated to the finance department going forward. And of course, each as each asset is purchased during the year, we currently maintain a folder, all the supporting documentation, the invoices, billings, checks issued, POs. But we'll be responsible for maintaining those records, but we'll be dependent on each department to provide their required information.
But as each department, they have the capability of going on Skyward to make their input, or is it all sent to your office?
No, as far as the original input, that will be automated at the time the purchase is made and the bill is paid. It will flow over from our accounts payable package over to the capital assets package automatically.
Thank you.
And just
Chairman Holder.
Idea, this is what I went through this year for capital assets. So it is quite a lot of data to go through originally. So this will definitely help to shorten that down a lot.
Okay, Director Burke, did you have something else?
I do. I'd like to recommend that these funds be either taken from the governor's support grant or the CARES Act funding. The governor's support grant currently has a remaining balance of $22,314.45.
$22,000 what, Director Burke?
$22,314.45.
Chairwoman Holden?
Yes, Commissioner Hill.
I will amend my motion to take that from the governor's money.
Okay.
No,
okay, so she accepts the amendment. Any other discussion? All right, Mr. Kennedy, please call the roll for vote.
Yes, Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Austin James.
Yes.
Mayor Patty Woodby.
Yes.
Ginger Holdren.
Yes.
Tracy McAbee.
Yes.
And Travis Hill.
Yes.
It's all ayes.
Okay, thank you very much. That'll go to budget next week. So we're down to item 4, which is an introduction of the finance department new employees. Do you want to bring them on camera this morning, or how do you want to handle that?
They're waiting in the wings.
All right.
Hello. I am
your initiation.
Yes. I'm Rita Watts. I am working with Jacqueline on payroll and HR.
And I'm Alex Morris. I'm the new accounting clerk. I'm working with Brad and Michael.
And we are happy to be here.
We are very glad to have you all on board. Thank you so much for joining our county.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
And I've met both of them, 2 very talented ladies. Welcome aboard with our team in the finance department.
Hey, Rita, can you close his laptop a little bit so we can see you? We're only seeing your eyes right now.
Me?
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right.
I was doing that on purpose. Not really.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for taking time to come over and speak to us. We all look forward to meeting you in person one good day.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So now we're going to open the discussion on the formation of an investment committee. And in your packet, there was a note about how that committee can be formed. I just want to make sure that everybody saw that. It's the one called the 1981 ACT FMC Committee Options. And the finance department highlighted the important parts here. Does anybody not know which document to which I'm referring? Okay, I'm going to read just the last sentence that says the county legislative body by resolution may create the following committees, or it may authorize financial management committee to assume the functions of any or all of the following special committees. 1, budget. 2, investment. 3, purchasing committee. So if we see the need to form an investment committee, we can decide whether to take that under our responsibilities on this committee or whether to appoint a new committee.
Chairwoman Brad Johnson.
Yes.
What would be the scope or mission of the investment committee? Their authority or their responsibility? Where does it lie and how does it operate?
I have not researched that specifically. I'm assuming that we're talking about looking into making sure that we are doing things like reinvesting our bonds that we did this past time and other things like that. Vice Chairman Hill, would you want to speak to this since you brought it up last month?
Well, I had just heard some other people over talking about it. And I think Mr. Lewis is on here. I think we'd be working with his office. And I guess we would be kind of putting all of our minds together in the best way to invest the county's idle funds, whether it be in CDs or higher yielding checking accounts or, like I said, refinancing bonds. Maybe Mr. Burke can touch on that, or Mr. Lewis. But I'm just wondering myself, does the advantages outweigh the disadvantages of forming this committee? Because all this falls under Mr. Lewis's office, but basically we would all be working together to determine the best option.
That's correct. And primarily it would be for investing excess cash. Of course, taxes come in certain times during the year and cash balances do build up. And the county does have a healthy cash balance for all the funds. And as far as county governments go, there are limits in what county funds can be invested in. Can't invest in stocks or anything of that nature with risk involved. There are primarily CDs and savings account. I do believe until recently the trustee's checking account was paying a higher rate than CDs, but I think that's flip-flopped now. There are other avenues of course, these has to be banks in Tennessee as well, except for programs such as what's called CDARS, C-D-A-R-S, which are CDs issued by banks in different states, but they are combined into one account like. Another thing to consider, any funds invested in any banks or savings and loans have to be secured either with FDIC coverage, which I'm not sure what it currently is. It was $400,000. Up to $400,000 was covered by FDIC insurance. Anything above that would have to be covered either with collateral pledged by the bank, held by a third bank, or participation in the state collateral pool, which the coverage in that would be unlimited. Most banks do participate in that state collateral pool. It's much easier than pledging individual securities they hold. And then the committee would be responsible for researching and getting different rates paid on CDs or the CDARS or checking accounts, and making decisions on that. Of course, the trustee is required to receive informal bids on investing county funds annually. which he does.
Director Burke.
Mm-hmm.
I believe when you start thinking of the liquidity of cash, you know, your CDs are tied up for usually 6 months at a time. But I believe the LGIP, I believe it has a 24-hour turnaround where you can liquidate that cash back out of that fund. Is that correct?
That's the only thing about the investment pool is currently the interest rates are almost nothing. They're extremely low. All rates are extremely low, actually, but the investment pool is at the bottom.
Yes, they're all. I talked to Mr. Lewis today. He does a fantastic job on investing our money, and he said basically right now the checking account's drawing less, I think, than the CD that they currently got in.
Madam Chair, would Mr. Lewis like to address this or have any input to this topic at the time?
Randall, you're on mute. We can't hear you. You're still muted.
Randall, you can hold your space bar down the whole time you're talking and we should be able to hear you.
Can Abby override his mute?
No, if he's muted on his end, all I can do is ask him to unmute.
Okay, thanks, Abby.
Okay. I think Michael headed that way, so we'll just chill out for a second.
I just called Tina. She's going in to help him.
Okay.
It may be a good thing, Madam Chairwoman, because, you know, in our previous commission meetings, when this topic would come up on the floor, Mr. Lewis does a great job in doing the investments for the county, but to get the support of the financial management and recommendations to aid him in doing this, I think would solve a lot of problems on the floor and give a better understanding to our commissioners. And then the public, you know, also hooked onto that train also.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Randall, we're ready now.
Okay, have you got me now?
We got
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that mishap. We got some new laptops here. This is actually the first time we have used this laptop, which is a good one. Now, in conversation with the investment committee, I think that's a good idea. Over the years, we have had real good relationships with our local banks and institutions. Like Brad said, over the years, also the checking account, sometimes it'll surpass the CDs, and sometimes the CDs will surpass the checking accounts. But at this time, the CDs are a little better. Right now, the checking is about 0.35, and we have about 4 CDs out there totaling a little over $8 million. And probably 6 months to a year ago, we were doing pretty good, but right now, like I say, the checking account was 0.35, but right now we have 1 CD at 0.60, 0.50, 0.85, 0.94. And some of these are on 6 months intervals to a year. And here recently, I have went down to 6 months. You know, election time's right on us, and I think that has a little bit of a say-so in what's going on. So, again, our local banks are really, really real generous. Now, there's some institutions that just can't handle the funds, but some of them can. So right now we're doing pretty good, but again, as Brad said, the local investment money, it's not doing too good at all, where you could get your return back in 24 hours. It's bottomed out right now. I have done that in the past, which has been actually a few years ago. But as of right now, we're doing pretty good. We have got about right at about 22 million in our checking and about 8 million in CDs. So everything seems to be going pretty good as far as the finances go. It just fluctuates up and down, and if anybody's got any kind of recommendations or anything like that, we're open up for any suggestions.
Randall Brad Johnson, do you think that an investment committee would be an asset to you to help you, or toward verse versa, your recommendations to them, to where we know our main objective is to get it to the floor of the total commission and understanding? Would that aid you in any way?
It's really not a overload thing on the trustee's office. I communicate really well, again, with our local banks. That is completely up to you guys to come on board, or whoever would be on the investment committee. That would be fine, to where maybe the trustee's office can give reports on where we would be on our finances. So it's completely up to you guys. If you'd like to go that route, that's completely okay with me.
Well, I remember one of the times when our economy went down and our the Federal Reserve went low in their percentages on deposits and so forth, that you come under the crosshairs and the crossfire on the main floor because they didn't fully understand the investment and the decisions that had to be made. And I thought maybe that would be one thing that could help get you out of them crosshairs to aid the rest of our commission.
That would be fine. That'd be fine to do, in my opinion. Again, whatever you guys would decide, I'm on board with it.
So if we formed this investment committee, would they have to vote on decisions and investments before the trustee could actually move money?
Maybe Brad could maybe have input on that, being the former auditor. I don't really know, to be honest with you, about that question. What about you, Brad?
I have that information somewhere, but it's not in this document I have in front of me right now. I do believe the investment committee would be making those, making the decisions when the funds are invested or deposited.
Okay, then here's a concern that I have. If he had to rely on committee meetings to make those decisions, let's say we meet on November 2nd, but the CDs expired October 1st or something. If y'all understand what I'm saying, there could be a period of days or weeks there that the CD had matured and he would not have direction from the committee as to what to do with the money. So I'm almost afraid that we would muddy the waters a little bit, if you will, in slowing that process instead of him having complete autonomy.
The trustee's office prepares a schedule of CDs with the opening date and the maturity date. So there would have to be, I mean, you would know ahead of time before those CDs would be maturing.
Okay, but you wouldn't know the rate that the bank was offering on the date of maturity. So I still say that you couldn't make a good informed decision a month in advance, so to speak.
That's exactly correct.
But Madam Chair, do we know, according to the Tennessee Code annotated for the office of the trustee, that we would not be encroaching on his responsibility?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know much about the formation of this committee, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't want a committee to come in and want to take over authority where the trustee by the state law and the comptroller's office and everything has now exclusive authority without rhyme or reason. Maybe Mr. Lewis may want to address that. I don't know.
I really don't know which way to go on this. Again, it's up to you guys. Again, we have good relationships with our banks here. I will expand a little bit on this. I have been contacted by numerous institutions out of the state, which we can't do that. And we've got a lot of local people here in Carter County that works at these banks. And I do stay loyal to these banks here. They're real good to work with and go out of their way. And I can tell you that right now, they go out of their way and give us sometimes real good investments for our money. I did talk to the trustee in Greene County, tried to contact another Sevierville, could not get a hold of Greg, but in Greenville, they do have an investment committee there. And he informed me that about 2 times a year, he gives them updates on, and that's what he was telling me. They do updates about 2 times a year of giving the committee, an investment committee, what kind of investments that he does have. That's what he was telling me on his end. So again, it's your pleasure to, however you want to do this. I'm on board. Like Ginger is saying, you know, sometimes you can maybe go overboard on certain things. I am proud of the fact that we have done good through the years. And like I said earlier, it does flip-flop up and down. I have, like right now, like I say, in the checking account is low, and I have reached out to some of these banks, and they just right now are not interested in funds. So we're at sort of a standstill right now. But that's just the way the economy is right now. Maybe in the near future, it'll be a lot better.
So, Chairman Holdren, just to, I think, recap what I've heard, it sounds to me like Randall still ultimately makes the decisions on all the investments. And it really sounds like the investment committee is maybe a portal to the commission for an update on what type of investments are being made and how we are going, what route we are seeing with our banks. I don't think it sounds like the investment committee can really make any decisions. Randall ultimately makes those decisions, and he just can report to an investment committee and maybe give that committee an update, and that committee in turn reports to the full commission for transparency. That's what it sounds like to me, but I may be off somewhere.
Well, that would, Madam Chairman, that would be pretty well the reason to think maybe the easiest way to do it is just to ask the trustee for either quarterly presentation to the financial management, report to the chair for the agenda, and to give us a quarterly or a semi-annual report that will possibly, I'm going to say it's not a problem, but to solve this situation.
Chairman Holdren, ACUF First District, do you mind if I comment on this?
No, we welcome your comments.
Thank you. Last sitting commission, when I was on budget, we did consider this, and obviously CTAS has a document that you can consult if you have not already done so. I don't see the need for this. I think Mr. Lewis does an outstanding job for us. Yes, if you want him to report on a quarterly basis or whatever time limit you all determine to financial management for transparency as well as presentation to the commission, I think that's a good idea. But Chair, I agree with you. I don't want to put any stumbling blocks in front of what Randall does for our county and the outstanding job that he does as trustee. So I would just caution us as we go down this avenue. I'm all for transparency. I'm all for letting commission know where our investments are and whether they're good or bad, how many CD ladders we've formed, where things are coming to us in our county as a positive, and where there might be some negatives. And for that, I would welcome that presentation to financial management and then to the entire commission. But I see no reason for an investment committee. Thank you.
That's kind of along the lines I was going as Dr. Acuff is. It just really sounds like Randall does a great job, and we don't want to overstep him with some kind of a committee when it really sounds like we're just looking for some form of a semi-annual report on, are we in the good, are we in the bad, how are things going? And I think that would help the commissioners, because I know there's a lot of non-understanding about investments and how our county runs. And so I think it's a good educational piece for our commission. So I think that is the need really, is just a semi-annual report from Randall or quarterly, however he sees fit, to educate the commission and let them know kind of what our money's doing and how we're investing it. That's just my take on it.
But with that, that also would help our budget chair out tremendously when it comes down to our budget hearings and know what our preliminary bottom line is as they're formulating for the new budget year.
Definitely, yeah.
Commissioner Tester, I saw that you're not muted anymore. Did you have anything you wanted to add, sir?
I was just going to basically say what Dr. Acuff said, and I totally agree with that. Randall does a great job, and I don't think we need to add any more additional committees or whatever, and him just report to the financial management. I think that would bring transparency to it all, and probably a good idea. And in that way, everybody would know what's going on. Then it would squash a lot of this, what are we doing, what's happening, and they would know as well as all of us. So thank you, Ms. Holden.
Okay. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that's made comments. Very good points you're making. Speaking with Trustee Lewis was one of the first conversations I had after becoming a commissioner. And he went into detail explaining to me how he goes from bank to bank in our own county and tries to work out the best rates for us. He stays on top of this. I really appreciate the fact that he keeps it at home. I try to do that in my personal life, and I love to see that happening in our government life as well. But, Mr. Lewis, it is always a good thing to have other people to share the blame sometimes. So it might not be bad to have you reporting to us, unlike has been the case in the past. It might help in so many ways. I see a lot of good that could come from it without becoming a hindrance to you. The other thing I would ask the committee to think about maybe before we possibly hear a motion on this is how often and what specific months of the year do you think it would be most beneficial to hear a report from Trustee Lewis?
Chairwoman Holdren?
Yes.
I guess this question will be directed to Randall. Randall, do you know, I'm sure you've got them staggered. When does the biggest majority of the CDs mature?
All of them mature actually next year, which is not far away, but we have April, July, and May. So we're springtime to midsummer looks like is what's coming up.
Now, Randall, how much notification do you get on possibly what the new rates will be before the old ones mature? Do they give you a month advance notice on what we might renew at?
Well, really, I contact them and give them 3 or 4 days notice, and they in return get back with me. They do discuss what they're going to do and what they're going to give the county. So that's the way we do the process. Now, again, with this election coming up, and I've just went 6 months on a couple of these, and there was already a couple of them at a year. Those at a year are come in May and July, and they are 0.94 and 0.85. Now, when I got those CDs that were 0.60 and 0.50, they're on 6 months, but I just recently got those. So the ones that come due a few weeks ago, they were a lot better. They did drop down to that. And like I say, the checking account right now, it's at 0.35. So after the election, I do intend to contact the banks again and ask them if they want to give us some rates, because we've got $22 million sitting in the checking account at 0.35. And so I'd like to get as many out there as I could. And of course, we still got to have, when the taxes come due, that wheel starts rolling real fast, and we put money in our funds in the bank. And then when the tax season's over, it does slow down, and you've got to have money in your checking account, to pay your bills. So try to stay on top of that. So we will contact some of these banks and see if they're interested in doing some rates with us again.
Randall, on a side note, I'm not sure if you knew that Security Federal has sold out to a small community bank.
I am aware of that.
Okay.
Yes. And they are one of the ones that's been really, really good to us through the years. I can tell you that. Yes. I don't know how it's going to, here in the next few months or whatever. I know they have sold out, but I don't know if that's going to change anything as far as being able to get the best rates possible. But there is other banks out there here in Carter County that does us really good too. Yeah. And they understand that if I go to them and another institution beats them out, they know that I'm going to go for the best rate that our county can get. They know me well enough that I am after the best rate we can get. This is for our county, for our school system, our sheriff's department, our employees, and I'm proud to be your trustee. We have a lot of good employees here in Carter County, and we want to get the best rates that we can possible. And also we get better rates. Maybe we can keep the tax rate down as low as possible. That's what I thrive for.
Very good job, Randall. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Right.
Ms. Holder?
Yes, sir.
I have a question for Mr. Lewis. Randall, when you get these CDs and stuff, a lot of CDs have a penalty for early withdrawal, and some of them even have like the only penalty to it is 3 months interest. So if you have the CD in there longer than 3 months, basically it's not going to cost you anything to withdraw your money. The county's not going to lose any money. Do you look at that when you make a decision on these CDs, Randall?
Can you tell me that one more time?
Okay. On a lot of CDs, the early withdrawal penalty, there is early withdrawal penalties on if you have to withdraw them early.
Right.
A lot of them they will set it up or accept it to where there is only a 3 months interest penalty if you withdraw it early. So if you have that money in there longer than 3 months, the county is not going to lose any money whatsoever.
No.
Okay. That might be something, Randall, to kind of look at, when you're doing your next one, because I know that that it is a possibility on some lending institution, banking institutions, that there will just be like a 3 months interest penalty. And if that money is in there over 3 months, then the county has lost or made money, even though we've had to withdraw it early.
I've never been in that situation. As long as I've been doing this, been very fortunate. It's went really well. The only thing is sometimes the interest rates, I'm not very happy about that sometimes. But right now we are doing better on our CDs than we are on our checking, which I've done told you how much we got in our checking, but we're trying to get some more CDs out. And it just makes sense if you're getting quite a bit more on a CD than you are a checking. If you don't have to go too many months to tie your money up, we want to get as much as we can for our investments. But I will keep an eye on that. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Randall. That's all I have.
Yeah.
Randall, I just want to say I appreciate the job you and your girls do in your office. You're always very welcome to any questions I have, and you always give me the information. And as current budget chair, I would just like a report maybe about February before we start the budget process of where we stand on all the accounts, if you don't care to do that for us.
That'd be great. Okay.
Thank you, Randall.
Thank you.
Is there any motion from this committee this morning as to how the trustee will address financial management on a yearly or semi-annual basis?
Madam Chair, just another point from what Trustee Lewis gave us here, that the CDs that are already invested is come back around in the April to July timeframe. So with our budget chair on our committee here, their budget year begins on their schedule normally around February when it actually gets into action. And with the final of our budget would be in the June timeframe. It seems like if there would not be a necessity for a report prior to the budget committee meeting or schedule. Maybe we might need to saturate this for those every other month for, let's say, 6 months during the budget period process.
Okay. Would you like to put that in the form of a motion, Commissioner Johnson?
If you all would think that would better work and help him, I would. I just wanted to get the feel of everybody else on the committee. Matter of fact, you might want to ask James. I think that guy died during the committee meeting here.
Yeah, I can't believe
he has been very quiet
today. Golly. Okay.
Austin, are you there?
Barely.
Okay, so Commissioner Johnson, I'm going to try to restate what you said if I understand it. We would be asking the trustee to report every other month to financial management starting in February?
Yes, ma'am. February and every other month till we adopt our budget.
So that would be February, April, and June.
February, April, and June. That'd be 3 reports only for the year.
And then every year after that, same process.
Yeah. It'd be continuous. And it'd be before the financial management. Then that way, that would not to be in our motion, but that way it would give us, give him some more support by our committee when these come up during the finance budget time.
If that's the motion, I'll second that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to ask the trustee to begin providing financial reports to the Financial Management Committee in February of 2021, April of 2021, June of 2021 during the budget season, and continuing every year thereafter.
Yes.
Any discussion? Okay, then Mr. Kennedy, if you'll please do a roll call, we will vote.
Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Austin James.
Yes.
Mayor Whitby.
Yes.
Ginger Holdren.
Yes.
Tracy McAbee.
Yes.
And Travis Hill.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, so motion passes. So Trustee Lewis, I just would like to say to you, thank you for your spirit of cooperation. It's nice to hear a department head that is game for whatever the commission requests of him or her. It's a very pleasant experience when that's the attitude, and we thank you for that.
Well, I want to thank everyone for their fine comments. I really appreciate it. I really do. We got a good staff here, as well as all the other department heads here. They got good staffs, and we appreciate what you guys are doing for the county. I know you're in it from the heart, and anytime we can be of assistance to you, just let us know. And thank you all very much.
Okay. All right, so next on our agenda would be an update from Director Burke.
The only thing I have is to update the committee. We've gone back to a teleworking rotating schedule due to the increase in the COVID cases. And hopefully that will, the number of cases will take a downturn. And that's basically all I have right now. If anybody have any questions for me?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Brad.
Thank you.
Okay. Interim Mayor Patty Woodby, your report.
Just a few things. The courtroom security project has finished up its final punch list. So we kind of went through, Abby had to do that. I had a meeting with the mayors in the area on just the finishing touches of the project. They are finished. Of course, they will not be back until mid-January to finish up the installation of the door and the rest of the project due to the fact that those materials take 10 weeks to get here. So they're looking at mid-January before they come back to complete the project. So that entrance has been boarded up and secured for the next couple of months to make sure there's no entry made into the courthouse. The storage unit that we've been discussing is ready to go. Finance has moved some of their files to that location. Early voting was very successful. We had 12,167 people vote early. And as you know, Carter County has 36,507 registered voters. So if you guys see Tracy, a big thank you goes to her, the election commission, and the volunteers. They work long hours, and they did such a great job on going out and getting the elderly out of the line and bringing them in to vote, to get them off the walkers. And we did take chairs and sit over so people could sit in. We did have a couple of falls, but I think everything's okay there. Just a reminder, county offices are closed tomorrow, election day. So just so everybody knows. We are seeing an increase in the COVID cases. We have a 15% positivity rate. Hospital rates have increased by 50% in the past 4 weeks. So we've really got to help get our hospital rates down and try to get the spread of this virus back under control. As you know, I've issued the mask mandate and extension of the electronic meetings through December 29th. And just an update too, myself and the area mayors are working on a PR campaign with ETSU and Ballad Health to try to get the word out about mask wearing. I'm going to target some of our age groups in our community, not with the most popular people, but with the people we relate to. School bus garage, our principals, our some of our teachers, some of the nurses in our area, our county employees. So that's going to be a heavy campaign with 6 counties involved. So we're going to be working on that this week. So it'll be a lot of social media and some PSAs that we're going to try to put out, all supported by the financials by Ballad Health. They're going to support this entire project financially. So this will be no money from the counties. So that's a big thank you to them for what they're trying to do. No update on the resort. I haven't heard the first word about the resort since I've been interim mayor. I had scheduled a meeting to go up there and look at the property. They rescheduled it with me, and I haven't yet to get another date to attend to see what's going on. Christmas tree lighting is November 21st, just in case anybody wanted to have that date on your calendar. And I just want to also ask the community to please encourage your friends and family to practice the mask wearing and social distancing for the well-being of our community right now. We're in the red, and we've really got to rely on each other to people to start doing the right thing. I mean, our schools are back to virtual, and I'll let Dr. McAbee address that. I don't know if they look to make it back to in-person learning. So, oh, and another bright note, we currently ordered 2 kiosks that the community can renew their tags, pay their court costs, and pay their property taxes. I've got 2 ordered. One will be here this week. We plan to put one in the Ready Martin Hampton to try to centralize it a little bit to get that area. You're looking at Butler, Roan Mountain, Hampton, Valley Forge, to try to go there to utilize the kiosks for all those, the services that the county officers to try to eliminate the foot traffic in the office, especially during tax time. And poor Mary Gooch, since I've been here in this office, the foot traffic in that office has been unreal. They are nonstop down there on tags. It is just every single day. So, and the second kiosk is looking to go into Walmart. We're currently working on that. That will be installed in Walmart. And like I said, you can renew your tags, pay your property taxes, and also pay your court costs. I will do some PR on those to try to get the word out in the community once we get them set up to try to eliminate the foot traffic through the county offices. That's the 2 centralized locations that I could come up with that would allow us to put them in their stores at no cost to us. So I tried to target the areas, Roan Mountain, Butler, Hampton, Valley Forge. For the Ready Martin Hampton, they do stay very busy and they see a lot of foot traffic. And then Walmart, of course, for the middle of town and lower end and Stony Creek, that area, to try to, and then we, of course, we'll have our offices here. But that's just to try to help the county offices. And all 3 office holders from those entities are in agreement to have this done. So that would be Johnny Blankenship, Mary Googe, and Randall Lewis. That's it. Any questions?
Yes, Patty, this is Randall.
Hey, Randall.
I might not have heard you at first. Did you anticipate a month of putting those in, or did I not hear that?
The first one is here, and I just got notified by Ready Mart. They're ready for us to install it. So when Aaron gets it in, he will go ahead and take it up and install it. We just ordered the second one last week because I wanted to make sure I had a location to put it in. So it takes about 4 weeks for them to get here.
Okay, so, great.
The kiosks they're beautiful. The way they've designed them, they've got each office labeled, and everybody will have to take some time and go look at them once we get them in the locations.
Okay,
and
great.
Randy, we'll get flyers out, and we'll do some trying to get people up there to use it to get some foot traffic off of you as soon as we can get them installed.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'll get the local media involved, and we'll do something to try to make sure people know that they're available to pay their property taxes.
Okay, and by the way, a lot of people's paying online through BIS. Yeah. Also, we're trying to encourage people to do that. Of course, it's like 2.75% to pay your taxes like that. But we're trying to encourage people, especially this tax season, to pay online or by phone. And the kiosk machines coming up, I think that's a great idea. And thank you for taking care of that.
All right, you're welcome.
Okay.
Mayor Woodby, where's the money for those kiosks coming from?
We pay for those out of the CARES Act. They were considered COVID related because of the foot traffic and trying to help prevent county employees from dealing with so much foot traffic.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for her? Okay, thank you, Mayor Whitney.
Thank you.
Okay, in the absence of Superintendent Cobal this morning, we will go to Director McAbee.
Thank you, Madam Chair Holdren. So a few updates, and it's been touched on a few times already, but to add a little to that, obviously the schools are back to remote learning this week. The issue is not so much that it's kids bringing it in or it being brought in that way or transferring between children. It's that we had some schools that had too many teachers and aides, either positive or in most cases, they were just quarantined because somebody in their family had been tested positive, and we just really couldn't get coverage. So as I talked with the health department on Thursday, I meet with them every Thursday. They told me that over the last week, I'm trying to look at notes, our new cases had doubled from 10 to 20.8%. The positivity rate was already up to 15.2%. I think Mayor Woodby talked about that. And obviously we're in the red with the White House map. So we felt it prudent to do that. As I talked with them though, just something so you know, in case things don't seem to be getting better, but we go back to school the following week, here's the reasoning behind that, if that happens. Caroline Hurt and Dr. Thomas told us that it still looks like most of the transmission is in the community. And so the theory being, if teachers, for example, and aides are still going out to Applebee's and eating together and getting together and all these different things, why does it help to close school? It's not happening at school, it's happening out in the community. And that made good sense to me. And they said they still don't have strong enough data to really think it's getting transmitted in school, that it's happening out in the community. And I can't control my people, what they do after they leave at 3 o'clock. So if things get better and I can get those folk off of quarantine, or even if it doesn't get better, as long as it doesn't get worse, my hunch is we'll be back in school the following week. The other thing is, Madam Chair Holdren has sent you guys a survey. I'd like your feedback on that. I really want to know the feelings of the commission and the vision of what you think the school district can be, the good things that are happening now, and that kind of thing. So I really want to get that in my mind as the new director so I can try to have a focus at moving forward. If we can ever get rid of COVID and get back to a normal way of thinking about things, that could be easier and we could meet and talk. But until that time, surveying you guys and maybe having some phone conversations about the progress of the school district is very important to me. So other than that, I mean, that's the report. And then I'm willing to entertain any questions you may have. Any questions?
Dr. McAbee, Mayor Woodby.
Yes.
Just preliminary question. What are we looking like in the schools for basketball starting up? How is that going to work in the gymnasiums?
Yeah, that's going to look odd, especially with some of these smaller gyms that we have up here. So the TSSAA rules, and then we've got the middle school version of the TSSAA. Their guidance is still between 25 to 33% capacity. So we're going to follow those guidelines. We're still going to ask folk to get in, they got to have a mask. Now, I'm not going to run around all night and police it and fight with people whether they take them off or not, but they have to have a mask to get in. We're going to cap that at 33% capacity to follow those guidelines. Otherwise, I think I can get into some litigation situations I don't want to get into. But other than that, I mean, that's where we're at preliminary, just trying to follow what TSSAA has said. I talked with the other superintendents the other day. We met in Greenville at the General Morgan. and almost everyone was of the same opinion in this Northeast region, except for maybe one district. And they said they felt that all they were going to do is just allow every player to have a grandparents, parents, and that was it, because it was in an enclosed building and that kind of thing. Their area was really nervous about that. So, but for right now, that's the preliminary thought on basketball season. Was there anything in particular other than that you were thinking about, Mayor?
Well, no, I was thinking about that as far as parents go. When you say 33%, how do you distinguish the parents and the actual family members of the players out of the 33%? It's kind of going to be really hard to do.
Yeah, we've got to have more conversations about that quickly. I'm going to get with Mr. McLean and different ones that's dealt with that over the years here. And then obviously we've got to include the head coaches in that decision. But it's just going to, some of these little bitty gyms, we can't get many people in there anyway, much less at a third. So it's going to be a challenge.
That was all I had. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
Dr. McAbee, Brad Johnson.
Yes.
Dr. McAbee, I just want to take a hats off to you and your principal staff and your schools on the expedition of getting the survey out relating to the broadband. I know now it's even more advantageous for us to work harder. And I know that Dr. Acuff and Commissioner McHill are the front runners on this thing. And I just want to thank you all very much from my perspective, because we have a lot of young people and children that's now going to be on virtual learning that don't have the availability. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of them going out of their way to go to the school parking lots. I have spoken to local law enforcement, that they spend a little bit more time around those areas while our children and our public's out in that area for using the Wi-Fi there around the school. So thank you very much for everything y'all doing.
Well, thank you. And again, a lot of that work was done by Commissioner Acuff. And Hill. We just handed it out, and we'll be glad to get it back. And that'd be a huge need if we can get that up in those remote areas.
Yeah.
And Mr. Johnson, let me think. I hadn't even thought of that, so I'm glad you did. I always have to lean on others for their areas of expertise. I had not thought about asking our SROs and different ones to check in on those parking lots, so that's a good idea.
Well, I'm graced with having just a little more inside contact with some of their staff, just to raise it in mind, because that's more usable now, which normally during the late afternoon and early evening times, it's uninhabited. So I just want to make sure their presence was around there in case something took place.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any others? All right. Thank y'all.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. McAbee. And I tried to explain in the email that I sent out how that survey came about, but I'd like to just say a couple more words about that. Dr. McAbee's the kind of guy that would have much rather had sit down face to face, get to know all the commissioners on a personal level than to send out an impersonal survey. But due to COVID, that's not possible. So he came up with the survey idea, and I was just actually kind of head over heels to be asked to be included in that because of my math background. It falls into my statistics area that I love very much. And so it gave me a chance to use some of that stuff that I don't get to use anymore, being out of the classroom. And I was glad to be able to do that. And he said he's already gotten back one response. So I think that's great. And I hope that you all will respond as soon as you can. Okay, so thank you everybody for all these reports you've given us this morning. Thank you for the good discussion. So the only thing we have left to do is to hear from our commissioners on the panel. So we'll start with Commissioner Hill since James has left us.
Just for me or Austin, Ginger?
Austin left the building. So
okay. The only thing I'd like to talk about is one, I appreciate this committee for always, looking at each of our ideas for the betterment of the county, deliberating on them, and whether we agree with them or not, we at least look at them from all points. The second thing I'd like to bring up was when we went over the Sequoia group was an initiative to get people to do their annual health exams. And I've brought this up before, and I think the health and welfare had talked about different options. The city of Elizabethton, which I work for, offers you the entire day off if you bring a doctor's excuse in that says you got your annual exam. So I think that'd be one way maybe to get some participation by offering the employee the entire day off as long as they bring in a doctor's excuse saying they got their physical. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hill. Then I've got myself next on the agenda, so I would just reiterate that this committee, I think, and Health and Welfare both looked at incentives last year, but we never actually followed through on anything. So I would like to see, since Health and Welfare meets this week, maybe that can be taken up again in there and we can get that incentive moving. And I think that to go along with some other comments that have been made this morning, I would just encourage us to be good examples and wear our mask anytime we have to go to the store or the gas station. People do look to us, and I want us to be setting that good example, because we saw this morning in the Sequoia group presentation that just having one or two people with high medical bills is possibly going to cause our rates to go up 42%. So anything and everything that we can do to keep the chance of a hospitalization due to COVID, we need to do that. Not only for health and life, but from a fiscal standpoint as well. And so that would be all I have. And so, Commissioner Johnson, your turn.
Madam Chairman, thank you very much. I really don't have anything. Just thank you all very much for the work that we do as a committee. It's one of the finest groups, I guess, out of our whole total county organization. And I look forward to your leadership, and I have all along. And it makes it easier, and you're going to find out that the members on your committee is the strongest point in the world. I mean, it's always been a privilege. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. And then, Dr. Acuff, do you have any closing words? I noticed that you're not muted.
Thank you, Chair. Only to thank all of you for doing the job that you do. Great discussion this morning, a lot of great deliberation. Thank you, Mayor, for your initiatives. I think what you're doing and showing great leadership, I appreciate that very much. And I know our citizens in this county do as well. Dr. McAbee, thank you too for allowing Commissioner Hill and I to join your principals group a few weeks back, and for the initiative of helping us with the survey. We will have a discussion regarding that on this month's Health and Welfare, and Chair Holdren, the agenda will go out to all commissioners as well as the Sequoia report this afternoon, because I have already made note on the agenda that we need to address the wellness incentives again. And I appreciate Commissioner Hill's comments. I think he's right on. We should mimic the city and use their leadership, how they've incentivized for folks to do wellness, and maybe there's some other things that we can come up. But I thank you all for helping us move the initiatives forward, and thank you for the discussion this morning and your all's leadership. Appreciate that very much.
Well, we appreciate you and the other commissioners that attend these meetings often. I encourage you to keep doing that. Thank you so much for devoting more time.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else have anything to say? Then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Okay.
Everyone have a good week. See y'all.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.